Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a first impressions slash little makeup tutorial sort of on a palette that I purchased sometime last year during one of the Sephora sales. I have never tried Tom Ford anything. I have bought a couple of his things. I have bought mostly his lip lacquers, which I know I did a video haul on them. I got Quiver, Darling, and Insolite. So I do have those, but other than that, I don't really have anything from Tom Ford. And because I follow Michelle Wong, I'm sorry that I keep looking down here. I'm actually trying to pull out the palette because clearly I wasn't fully prepared when I sat down to film this video. I got the Tom Ford Pretty Baby palette number 25. And I got this during one of the Sephora sales because these quads are super expensive. And as you can see, it is sort of like a neutral palette because I feel like even this brown right here has like a sort of neutral undertone to it. And so I wanted to do a video on this, kind of like a first impressions of this palette, just to kind of give you my overall opinion about it. If you guys noticed, I got some artwork hung in the back, and as you can see, that's my light that my husband, guys, let me just show you really quick about my husband. He's so smart because for the longest time I've always had to move that light over to this side where you guys can see it because I share this office space with my husband. So on this side of the room is his space and on this side of the room is my space. So it's like a his and hers space. And so this light has been stored right here and it just looks ugly, and I just had nowhere to put it. Like, I have no more space in my house. Like, the closets in this house are very tiny, so I had nowhere to store that. And he thought, okay, well, why don't we put two nails on the wall where it can hold itself up, and when the door is open, which the door of this room is always open, nobody could see the light back there. Smart man. That's why I married him. Okay? He's cute, but mostly he's smart. That's why I married him, because I can't marry stupid. No. Okay, moving on to the point of this video. Hope you guys like the artwork. If you guys were wondering, I got it at Burlington, and it's just, I know nothing about interior design, don't know what I'm doing. I know what I like, don't know how to put it together. So this is the best I could do. Yeah, pretty much. Let's get started with this video. Just so you guys know, I have already primed and prepped my face. I used my Bare Minerals foundation with the Mineral Veil. And as far as a blush, bronzer, and highlight, I actually just used the bronze and highlight and blush of this palette, this Bare Minerals palette that I've had in my collection forever. And it's now up for rotation. And I've just been using this. And the blush I've been using is called the Limelight. The highlight is called the Premier. And the bronzer is called the Ocean View. This was a palette that Bare Minerals came out with, and Shelby Wilson, if you don't follow her, kind of did like a collaboration with them on this, where she like did a couple looks with this palette. So I've had this palette for a really long time, and I'm now just getting around to using it. And this is a palette I will be using until I reach pan on every single color, which doesn't really take me a long time since I do my makeup every day. All right, moving right along. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys some swatches of this palette, and then we'll get into the makeup look, okay? Okay, so the way I'm gonna show you these colors is gonna be starting from the top left-hand corner as shade number 1.
since this palette does not have shade names on it. And then we're gonna go from left to right, and then from left to right. All right, so the first two top shades are a satin finish. This topper shade on the bottom has like a lot of glitter. They are these micro glitters, so the texture of this shadow is a bit more rough than the other ones. And then the dark brown shade is also a, I would say a semi-matte, because I wouldn't want to say it's a complete satin shade because it is pretty dry. It is definitely cool toned and it is not a solid brown. The camera's not picking it up, but it has these very fine micro glitters in it, which is kind of like a very fine milled sparkle. And they are like this coppery, pinkish glitters. Now let's look at the swatches. And here are the swatches. See that shade shifting color right there, the third shade? They're both very satiny shades. It's a very cool tone palette, and as you can see that brown, you can see those micro glitters in the brown. Very cool tone brown. I think this palette is perfect for the spring. Let's hope it performs as nicely as it's swatched.
All right, so I zoomed you in. Let's get started with this look. I've already primed my eyelids with the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer. First color I'm going to dig into is going to be this first pinky shade right here. And I'm going to go ahead and apply that all over my lid. Let me see, should I like zoom out a little bit? Because I feel like you guys are kind of close. Or too close for comfort. I think that's a healthy distance between you and I. So I'm gonna go in with a clean Real Techniques Deluxe Crease brush. And I'm gonna lightly tap into that first shade because, like I said, I've never used any of the Tom Ford eyeshadows. So I'm not exactly sure how pigmented these shadows are. And so, you know, we don't wanna have a Charlotte Tilbury moment on my channel again. Although I'm sure you guys found that super amusing, but I scared myself a couple times. All right, so I'm gonna lay that all over the lid, and as you can see already, it is a really nice, smooth satin shade. It does have a bit of that mauvey pink tone to it. And then let's do the same thing to the other eye. These shadows are not as pigmented as the one from the Charlotte Tilbury palette, but they are nicely pigmented. So you can build that color up fairly easily. And just bringing that all the way up to my brow bone. Now these palettes are really expensive, so I just waited for a Sephora sale before making my purchase, and this is the only Tom Ford quad I have. Honestly, because Michelle Wong did a kind of first impressions swatches with this palette, and out of all of the quads that he has, this is really the only one that spoke to me, because I just don't feel like spending all that money on 4 shades for something that's very basic. You know what I mean? Okay, next I'm gonna go in with a Real Techniques Crease Prep brush, and this is kind of angled. And then I'm gonna go ahead and dip into this shade right here. Very lightly because it's very purple. It's very lilac-y. Okay, I have a hair that's driving me insane. I'm just going to apply that to the crease with a very, very light hand. Kind of just tapping the color in. Okay, so far it's blending. These shadows are blending nicely. So no problem there. The shadows are not giving me a lot of kick up either, which is always a good thing. Less of a mess. Because the Marc Jacobs, yeah, I'm saying it right. The Marc Jacobs eyeshadow palette that I just finished doing a couple of looks on for you guys, those shadows really do have a lot of kick up. So if you're not really into that, that is definitely not going to be a palette for you. So I've applied this shade. This is the transition shade. Now, honestly, I feel like you can stop right here and have a really nice look. But for the sake of this video, we're gonna use all 4 of these shadows. All right, so with the same brush, I'm gonna go into this brown shade right here. And I'm gonna use that and concentrate it on the outer portion of my eye. This shadow is pretty dark, so I'm gonna go in with a light hand. First, I'm just gonna kind of press the shadow where I want it, you know, because I'm not really sure how dark this is gonna come out. Kind of just press it into the outer corner right here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and drag it into the crease. So instantly that deepened the outer corner. And I would stop right there. For my skin tone, and in order to use this palette as an everyday look, I don't want to go deeper than this, because otherwise then it's too dark. Let's do the same thing to the other side. So just press the shadow in the outer corner and then just drag it into your crease a little bit. Not all the way, just halfway to the midpoint of the eye. There you go. So I'm gonna stop right here. Now for the topper shade, which will be this shade, I'm gonna use, I'm first gonna try it with a brush, but somehow I have a feeling that it's gonna apply better with my finger. So let's do something. I'll do this eye with a brush and I'll do this eye with my finger, and then we can compare and contrast, okay? Oh, also, in case you guys were wondering, the palette does come with these little shadow brushes right here. It has like a tip for eyeliner, and then you've got the spongy tips on the other end. Didn't use those, but they look promising. They feel promising. Very soft, very nice. However, I am gonna use this one as a liner brush, but in a minute. I want to go really quick to back to using the first brush I used to lay down that base color, because I kind of want to blend this out a little bit. Just soften up those edges, and then we can go in. And I'm really just gonna use this clean pointed foundation brush from Real Techniques, and I'm gonna use the edge of the brush and I'm gonna really use this to just kind of blend this out right here. I have big eyelids, so this tends to help this brush. A lot of the times I don't use my brushes for what they're for. I don't wear foundation under my eyes, or I mean concealer. So tend to use some concealer brushes that come in packages for other things instead of just having them there, not using them at all. All right, so let me grab a shadow brush. Actually, I am going to use this little brush that the palette comes with, and I'm gonna apply that topper shade with this brush, and let's see what happens. All right. Just applying that on the eyelid, the inner corner. I'm not dragging it all the way out to the eye because I don't want to take away from the brown that I just placed on there. So this shadow does apply really nicely with a brush, and I'm gonna get close so that you guys can see that shade shifting effect. Now I'm gonna do the same thing but with my finger to the other eye. So I got some on my finger, and let me go ahead and place that on my eyelid. Okay, so definitely with my finger, it's much more intense than with the brush. Not really sure if the camera is gonna pick up on that, but this eye is way more intense than the other. This has a lighter effect, so it kind of just depends on what you prefer. It also depends on your skin tone and what looks best. So just looking at this, I pretty much prefer the finger technique because I like for that topper shade to really shine through and really mix in with the base and transition color. I think it's really cool. It gives the eye a really cool effect. And I'm digging it. So really quick, off camera, I'm gonna go ahead and apply some brow gel and some mascara. But before I do that, I'm gonna use this pointed brush right here that the palette came with, and I'm gonna use that to apply some of the brown shade on my upper and lower lash line. Let's see how this turns out. So I'm kind of angling the brush, and that's the way that I'm applying it so that I don't scratch my eyeballs. And I am going in with a light hand. So just a little bit. And I always like to do half of the eye, makes it less dramatic. I'm gonna do the same thing to the top of my eye. Just keep it really close to the lash line, and I'm only doing half of the eye. I'll get really, really close in a minute so that you guys can see how far I dragged that shadow. All right, so big bonus I'm gonna tell you about this palette. I usually hate the little brushes that the palette comes with. These brushes are really good. This, especially this one, is super good in getting in there and laying down that shadow. Okay, let me get a little bit closer to the camera so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. So I only did it halfway on the eye. And I did the same thing on the bottom lashes. So let me go ahead and apply some brow gel and some mascara, in case you guys are wondering. The same ones I've been using, Chanel mascara and Chanel eyebrow gel. I'll be right back. Okay, so this completes the look. I just brought my hair down so that I look like a normal person. Let me just close my eyes so that you guys can see the final look. And I just applied mascara and some eyebrow gel to my bottom and top lashes. I think this is really nice now for the spring. It's really, I think, a cool tone palette that is perfect for light to medium skin tones, because I don't know what it is about neutral palettes. They do not look good on me. I don't know if it's the undertone of my skin is very yellow, and maybe that's why it doesn't look good on me, but I have a very hard time finding neutral palettes that look good with my skin tones. I think it's perfect for spring. I definitely see myself using this palette on an everyday basis. If I were to grab this palette and make it into a night look, honestly, I would have just used a bit more of that brown shade right here. And I would have lined the whole bottom of my lash line and the top, and I would have deepened out the crease area, just smoked it out a little bit more. I think it's a very simple way to take a day look to a night look using one palette. Another thing I wanted to let you guys know that the shadows are not as small as I thought they would be. When I purchased this palette online, it kind of looks small, and I know that on camera you guys can't see how big the shadows are, but they're big, guys. Like, these pans are large, and I'm gonna hold my finger up to one pan so that you guys can kind of see, like, it's really large. It's much larger than your average shadow pan, and according to the back, each shadow is 0.31 ounces, which is technically 9 grams per shadow square, in case you guys were wondering. Now, out of all the Tom Ford shades that I have here, I've decided to apply Darling, which is a matte shade. This is his Lip Lacquer Lust, and this is a matte shade in number 1, Darling. Again, I purchased these from Bloomingdale's. I thought this shade would match this look the best. This has a scent. It smells like vanilla. It's very soft though. It's not overpowering. And it definitely doesn't linger. Okay, let me pick up some more. The dome applicator on this is very flexible. It's definitely not firm, which makes it easy to move around the lip. Okay. There we go. Just making sure I have an even application of that. The reason I chose this shade over the other two was because they tend to be on the warmer side. One of them is a vinyl, which is Insinuate. And I'm wondering if I should apply it on top of this matte shade. Let me just swatch it first. Let's see. Negative is very dark, actually. Very, very dark. It does not look like a topper shade, so we're gonna see super dark. We're gonna keep it this way. All right, what are my thoughts? All right, let's talk a little bit about pricing, because I feel that that's the big elephant in the room when it comes to luxury purchases, okay? Now, originally, each one of these quads retails for $88. That is a lot of money. So, will I ever purchase one of these quads full price? No. I think it's a lot of money for 4 shades. They perform well, but my Chanel shades and my Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows perform, I would say, better. The Charlotte Tilbury shades pretty much blend themselves and they're very pigmented. So if I had to choose out of a luxury brand which shadows I think I like the most, they would be the Charlotte Tilbury ones. With Charlotte Tilbury, one of her eyeshadows, I think her eye quads are like $54. So I feel like that's really already really expensive. And I just don't see myself paying $88 for one of these quads. So now, I like it. I think it's one of the prettiest neutral toned eyeshadow palettes out there. It is a luxury purchase. This is a luxury brand. So do keep that in mind. Like when you are venturing into the world of luxury beauty, you're gonna pay more for anything pretty much. However, I would suggest just wait for a Sephora sale and purchase one of these. If you own the Bloomingdale's card and you've racked up points and you have $25 gift cards, you can just use a $25 gift card to purchase one of these quads if you absolutely just can't get enough of Tom Ford and you're on a budget. What else? I really like the topper shade of this palette, and I'm gonna get close one more time so that you guys can see the shade shifting effect of that shadow. I find it to be very unique, something I haven't seen before. The shades are more like satin shades. They're a bit on the drier side when it came to that topper shade, which I think is to be expected when you deal with shades that have a lot of glitter in them. The other ones though, this one right here was just a little bit dry, but these two up here were perfect. The satin shades laid out very nice. They were very soft. The pigmentation was nice. I liked that initially it went on light instead of very strong, because I feel like these shadows are very cool toned and they're very like purpley mauve, and when you have a light to medium skin tone, you want that option to be able to build these colors up, because it can kind of make you look a bit pale, a bit dull, washed out. And so I find that I have that problem with cool toned palettes. It's just the price point is really high up there, and it's not something that within my budget and what I make on a yearly basis, I'm not a person that can afford to buy this quad on a regular basis. So I would pretty much purchase this if I had, you know, some sort of coupon or whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, and I want to pretty much address this right now that we're talking about luxury beauty. If you are the type of person that makes a good amount of money and you can afford to buy these palettes anytime that you want, more power to you. Don't let anybody make you feel bad for what you've had to work for. For those of you who don't make that kind of money, like I do, there's also nothing wrong with that. You just wait for that coupon. There is nothing wrong with using coupons. People do it all the time, okay? We are not here to shame anyone. We're here to encourage people, encourage men and women out there, regardless of your, your social status. Let's go with that. I'm really not into people shaming other people who can or cannot buy certain things. That's not what this channel's about. I'm here to just give you some good opinions about makeup and occasionally talk about, you know, some issues in the world. But other than that, mostly beauty, mostly beauty. I really like the quad. If you guys were looking for a good neutral quad for the for 2020, I think this is a really good one. I definitely recommend it. The shadows perform very well, and I feel like they blend into each other very nicely. I'm gonna stop rambling now. Just want to let you know really quick about the shade I just laid down. It is a matte shade. It has completely dried down. It is a comfortable matte. I don't feel any crackling, or it doesn't have a weird taste, and I can't smell that vanilla smell anymore. So for those of you who are sensitive to smells, that's another plus with this, in case you were a little bit afraid of that scent. The Tom Ford quads, the eyeshadows have absolutely no scent at all, so that's really good. Pretty much completes this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you like Tom Ford eyeshadows, if you don't, if you already own this palette and you are absolutely obsessed with it, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.